All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Well, good morning, everybody, and good afternoon if you're on the East Coast or joining us from elsewhere in the world. Got quite a few people here today. My name's Ken Shaw. I'm the CEO of SOS Online Backup. And welcome to another one in our series of webinars. We try and do these weekly, but also sometimes a couple of times a month. The webinar today is focused on what's involved in becoming a partner of SOS Online Backup. Just the agenda is there on the slide. Hopefully that's coming through. We'll go through SOS's history briefly. We'll then take a look at the backup and DR industry as it has existed over the last 5 to 10 years, and then talk about some of the changes we're seeing in the backup and DR world as we're seeing a mass migration from offline backups, principally centered around disk and tape architectures, to the world of online backup and cloud-based backup. We'll then take a tour of the SOS backup technology stack itself, and then turn to the SOS partner model, which is all about how you can partner with us to get into the online backup business. There'll be a Q&A at the end, but we actually end up doing most of our Q&A throughout the webinar. So I see some of you have already used the questions tool within GoToWebinar to let me know if the audio is working, which is great. Please use that starting right now to ask the questions that you'd like to see addressed or you'd like to have discussed today, and we try and make these as interactive as possible. It's a wonderful feedback tool. So the more questions you ask, the more tailored this presentation will be to your specific questions or areas of interest. Intended audience for today is anybody who's interested in selling online backup to their customers. So typical people who partner with SOS are managed service providers, technology resellers, IT service companies, anybody who's selling IT goods or services to really all three market horizontals: home users, consumers, small business, and also enterprise. We'll be giving a Kindle away to one lucky participant for today's webinar, and the details of that promotion will be at the end of the webinar, so stay tuned for that. And we've got some questions. Oh, sorry about that. We've got some background noise on the line. Hopefully that will go away. Okay, so we've got some questions coming in already. That's terrific. I'll make sure that we address those, and we'll walk through questions as we get to them. Okay, so who is SOS? I'm sure, I would imagine most people attending today are relatively familiar with who we are, but I'll just take a moment to give you some background on us. As a company, we've always focused on the online backup industry, as fairly obvious from the name of the company, SOS Online Backup. We've always been singularly focused on the online backup industry. Started in 2001 originally in Australia. We're now a global firm. Several million customers around the world, 150 staff. So we're a large firm these days and have been in the business quite some time. There's really two things that set SOS apart from other companies in the space. First is that we pride ourselves on leading the technology space in online backup. So we pioneered many features of online backup that are now considered standard. So we were the first company to support continuous data protection, full integrated local backup, open file backup. We're the first company to have mobile applications, first company to provide web-based sharing. A lot of innovations that we've made within the online backup space, and that's certainly one of our core focus areas. And the other is how we go to market. We're almost exclusively focused on our partners and our channel. So we provide an online backup platform for other companies to resell and to customize and to white label and rebrand to sell to your customers. And that's really what most of today's webinar is about. Covered this timeline, I think, on what we just went through. Common question we get is, where do we focus as a company? What's our technology targeted on? This slide attempts to address that. We're very focused on the small business segment. So anything from a 3-person business up to sort of a 100-seat business, that's really our power sector. But we've also got home user solutions, which are very, very popular with home users. And we've got some enterprise offerings as well, which are quite popular in certain parts of enterprise deployments. So depending on what type of customers you are, we've probably got a solution that should fit your needs. But certainly that's the type of discussion we love to have in these webinars. So if you've got questions about whether or not we can fit your customer needs, just type to me the sorts of customers that you're focusing on, and I'll make sure that I address the offerings we've got that tailor to that market segment. And this slide here really sort of summarizes up what this webinar is about and what we're about as a company. We take all of our technology and infrastructure and know-how and knowledge as pictured on the left here with the SOS logo. We then filter that through your business and branding. What I mean by that is we take your branding and your image, we analyze your existing products and services that you're selling to your customers, analyze your customer base and the types of billing relationships that you have with them, and then we skew up the various SOS offerings to match your business. We rebrand the product so it becomes your online backup product, and we slot that into your existing business. The goal being for you to be able to drive incremental additional revenue from existing customers. It's very high margin on a recurring revenue base from selling backup as a managed service. And here's an example of some rebranded customers of ours. There's some other examples later on in the presentation, but this just gives you a flavor of the sorts of rebranding we can do. These are various examples of software products and marketing collateral pieces that we have that we reskin and rebrand for our partners. And that's part of the service. When you become an SOS partner, the whole white label approach really applies to everything from the software to the marketing materials to sales support, even through to customer support for your customers. And we'll talk more about that in depth. Before we turn to that, though, I just want to talk briefly about the backup landscape as it has existed. We've really seen major changes in the backup landscape in the last 3 years. Traditionally, you've had very different approaches to backup in those three market segments: consumer, small business, and enterprise. In the consumer space, there haven't really been any standards for backup, so there's many studies out there that show how poorly consumers generally back up their data, and that really actually remains relatively unchanged. We're seeing tremendous growth in consumer demand for online backup, and that's really a very hot sector right now. But by and large, the vast majority of consumers are not backing up appropriately. They're not backing up daily, and they're certainly not backing up off-site. Moving down into the small business segment, and when we talk about small businesses, we're really talking about that 3 to 100 type range. We often see individual or sole proprietorship type businesses acting as consumers. So even though they might actually be a business, micro businesses we call them, we generally tend to lump in with consumer because they sort of behave like consumers. In the SMB space, backup's obviously been a major IT product and service since computing has really taken hold, so for the last 30 years, and for that entire period of time, the dominant technology has been tape. So tape's a very old technology, and nevertheless, it's one that we still see as the predominant type of technology being used in the space. In the small business space, backup's usually a three-prong. There's usually a three-prong approach to backup, built around some hardware, some software, and some labor. Hardware is usually tape, but sometimes disk. There's been more and more disk over the last few years. Various software utilities, some major brands being products like Legato, Veritas, Dance, which will then handle the tape management and the backup to tape, and then labor. And this is often an element that is overlooked when businesses are looking at the true cost of a backup solution. Most traditional backup solutions are extremely labor intensive, and that's a hidden cost that applies to both resellers and to end users of tape-based technology. We'll talk a little bit more about the foibles of tape on the next slide. In the enterprise space, there has traditionally been very high spending on backup and DR solutions, so it's a very rich market. There are no significant enterprises that don't already have backup and DR strategies and technologies in place. So here, the move to online backup is more about saving costs and getting better technology, better performance from technology rather than actually filling a void. In the consumer space, backup, oftentimes when we're selling online backup to the consumer market, we're actually giving the consumer their very first effective backup technology. Not so in the enterprise. In the enterprise, it's usually about better service at a lower price. So all of those same elements are involved when we turn to cloud-based backup, except it's all wrapped up in a very simple software as a service solution. So when you're selling your online backup brand, there's still software and hardware and support and services involved, but it's all bundled together based on the SOS platform. And then you provide it to your customers as a very simple set and forget software as a service package. We've seen very significant decline in sales of tape and disk-based backup. A survey by the Santa Clara Group has actually shown that tape backup sales in the United States have shrunk from nearly $2.5 billion 2 years ago to just over $1.5 billion last year. So as that trend continues, we're going to see tape recede into being a legacy technology rather than the dominant backup technology in the market. And where's all that money going? Well, a lot of indicators show that it's moving to the cloud. So a survey by CTO Edge magazine that was done recently shows that more than 70% of CTOs surveyed are intending to move all or part of their backup load to the cloud. And there's actually a quote from one of our partners here. If we don't sell our customers a cloud-based backup solution, someone else will, so why not us? And that's really the core proposition of today's webinar. If you're not selling online backup to your customers, you can bet that somebody soon will be, and you're in a position to leverage that customer relationship you've got and capture that customer. There's a land grab going on right now for customers because it's an extremely sticky product. Once you've got a customer with all of their data backing up to your cloud, they're very unlikely to leave you. So that's really the core proposition today. If you're not already selling online backup to your customers, why not? I would like to address the concerns you've got to help you make that decision to get into this business. Here's an example that speaks to some of the economics of tape and disk backup versus online backup. And I won't dwell too much on the line items, but this came from a real customer of ours where we replaced a tape backup solution which had over 5 years cost $9,130 at an initial cost of $6,146. To back up the same environment with our technology cost only $1,000 a year. So only 16% of the cost on the first year, and over the 5-year period, less than half. Now, interestingly, when we look at the margin to the reseller involved here, margin on tape and disk, as you know, is often in single digits. So in this case, about $500. Whereas with online back sellers made 5 times as much from a revenue standpoint. So I think this illustrates, I think this really summarizes the value proposition that online backup poses for the market. It's a better technology at a lower price for end users with much richer margins for the resellers and suppliers of technology. And I won't dwell too much on this slide. I think most people are probably familiar with the problems with tape, but just comparing tape and disk backup to online backup. Deployment is often a problem with hardware-based backup, whereas with online backup, it's just software which is deployed over the network. Coverage is always an issue with hardware and tape-based backup. By their nature, they can't back up laptops and branch offices and distributed data because those things are not connected to the LAN. Whereas online backup, every device is connected to the cloud. So every device is under the backup cloud and can be protected. There is no media with online backup, so there's no media to be rotated off-site or media to be protected. A lot of the higher profile data loss incidents over the last 5 years have been because of media that's been misplaced. Recovery with hardware-based backup is often slow and difficult and has to be run through the IT department, whereas with online backup, users can actually do recovery themselves. They don't even need to escalate to IT. Online backup is far more secure than hardware-based backup. Most hardware backup technologies aren't even encrypted, whereas online backup, we use encryption. Across the industry, we all use security similar to that's used by online banking, and it's very secure. Access to data. With online backup, you've got immediate, simple, worldwide access to your data. So from my iPhone, I can search all of the data that I have in the cloud, and I can pull down any of that data, share it with colleagues, share it with friends, just from my mobile device. I certainly don't need to talk to the IT department. Cost. We've looked at cost. Online backup, from a TCO standpoint, is often less than half the cost of an analogous hardware-based solution. It's not always the case, of course. There are a lot of variables, but generally we see online backup coming in at about 50% of the cost of hardware-based backup and at a much higher margin to you, the reseller. Got some questions coming in. We've got a potential partner here who sells to small office and home offices and to non-profits. That's a pretty typical sort of profile for the sorts of partners we work with, Michael. So you should absolutely talk to our partner specialists about that. We've got price points that will be attractive for home users and other budget-conscious organizations like non-profits. Peter asks if there are any licensing costs to the customer. And Peter, end-user pricing is completely set by you. So we are your platform provider and we wholesale the technology to you, and you get to set the rules about licensing and pricing to your customers. So you could charge your customers licensing, or you could just charge them a blanket fee. That's totally under your control. Masood asks how much bandwidth is required. Masood, we generally say a broadband connection, so anything from a DSL connection on up will be fine. Obviously, the faster the connection, the faster the backup. It does not work well over asymmetric connections like satellite, where the upload speed on a satellite connection is so much slower than the download speed. Samuel asks if the presentation is available for download. Samuel, you'll get an email link with a video recording of the webinar within 24 hours, so that, yep, you can access this content at any time. And Lynn asks, is backup available for Windows Server 2K3, 2K8, and Linux? Yes, and sort of. We can back up Linux or Mac or Unix or any other OS device so long as there's at least one Windows box on the network. So if you've got at least one Windows box in the environment, then we can support it. Dennis asks, how fast can complete online backups be gotten to customer in case of disaster? Dennis, you've got immediate real-time access to your data, so you can just go to any web-connected computer and download all the data in real time. We can also organize a physical media recovery for you, which can take a few days where we'll do a full restore and send it out to you. But usually what customers would do in the case of a full disaster is pull down the crucial files and have those within an hour, and then do a longer recovery for all the rest of the data. Kent asks whether or not he can back up data to his own servers, or does it have to go to the SOS servers? Kent, you can back up to your servers so long as it's then ongoing to our servers, if that makes sense. So some people set it up to go from, say, workstations to their server and then from their servers to our servers. But what we sell is an end-to-end solution, so the data ends up in SOS private cloud, which we carve out a portion of our cloud and give it to you. All right, so just a little more statistics. I promise this is the last slide on statistics. We often get asked how big the market is and how big the opportunity is. And just some brief stats. The overall backup industry is about $10 billion a year in spend. We saw a few slides back that nearly $3 billion of that had been being spent on tape-based technologies. That, of course, is split up between hardware, software, and services on the one hand, and then between consumer, small business, and enterprise on the other. But the overall online backup industry is only at about $1 billion. So online backup is pretty small by comparison to the overall backup industry. A lot of people agree that online backup is likely to get a 70 or 80% market share. So we're still looking at enormous growth ahead of the online backup industry. And with fewer than, say, 10% of consumers actually using online backup today, then there's really a lot of room for growth yet in this market. This is a good time to be getting into the business. All right, so let's turn to the SOS technology itself. And we've got a couple more questions here. One more from Mike. Do you have plans to offer Mac or Linux support? So Mike, we can back up data from Mac and Linux so long as there's a Windows device in the network environment today. We plan on supporting pure Mac and pure Linux environments in this half. We've got a beta technology right now that's a closed beta, but we don't have a firm date on when we're going to be shipping that yet, apart from we plan to have it out this half. So on this slide, it really lays out the core pillars, if you will, of the SOS product strategy. And there are 4 elements to it: protect, access, share, and manage. And that's really what we do. We protect data, we help you access the data, we help you share the data, and we help you manage the data. We're going to see different applications of these core 4 core principles in the next few slides as we talk through SOS's capabilities. These features are all on our website, so please take some time to go through our website and read more about them, or call in and talk to one of our partner specialists to learn more about it, but I'll talk to some of the highlights here. Continuous data protection. This is what we call our Live Protect technology, and it's built-in integrated CDP. So all of our competitors do scheduled backup, which we of course do as well, but with SOS you can actually watch individual files and have them back up immediately upon a change being detected, which is extremely powerful. Unlimited computers. Most of our competitors require you to pay a license fee for every machine you install the software on. So taking Mozy Pro, for example, I believe the license fee is $3.95 a month per machine. So if you've got 100 machines, you're paying $5,000 a year to back up no data, simply to install the software. With SOS, there are no license fees. You can run the software on an unlimited number of computers, and we've got customers who are backing up hundreds of computers within one account, and that really gives the software some of its power, the ability to manage all of those PCs within one account. Global roaming access. You can access your data through a browser. You can share that data. You can share folders, share files, recover that data through a browser. Some recent reviews of our product, actually, we recently won PC Magazine Editor's Choice again for the 5th year running. And one of the reasons that they continue to highlight our success is because of the versatility of the technology. So that ability to not just access your data, but to share it out to others on a file level or a folder level or a version level is extremely powerful in both a home user setting and in a business setting. Access on iPhone and BlackBerry. We'll have Android coming out later this year. So the ability to get all of that same power and access in a native application right on your device. You can actually back up your BlackBerry, back up your iPhone as well, which is extremely powerful. Free integrated local backup. So although we're an online backup company, the software's got a free local backup stack built in, which means you can set up full system local backups as well as then backing up core data to the cloud on a different schedule. Physical media upload. This is the ability to seed the backup set by sending data to us on a drive, and we'll then upload the data to the data centers for you to save you all that bandwidth. Timeline-based recovery. We've got a very powerful recovery system. I think you'll see it stands head and shoulders over the competition, which lets you roll back your PC to any given point in time. It's modeled after the Windows XP System Restore wizard, which has been replaced in subsequent Windows versions, but was extremely powerful. And in our technology, lets you pick any date and time you want to roll back to, search your backup sets, search by system, search by file names, and that actually it's got the unintended consequence of giving you immediate access to all your data. So, for example, I've got 6 PCs, about 5 terabytes in my personal SOS account, and about 5 years worth of version history. And right from my iPhone or my desk, I can search 5 terabytes of data over 5 PCs, 6 PCs, and get an instantaneous response for what I'm looking for. And I'm not aware of any other technology that lets me do that. It's nearly like Google desktop search moved to the cloud across all of my private data in a fully secure environment, and is an extremely powerful side effect of our recovery engine. Flexible scheduling. You can schedule however you'd like, hourly, weekly, monthly, daily. And before one-click sharing, we've talked about the sharing system. These last 2 features are important. I'll just answer some of the questions that have come in. One particular question, we get this a lot. Any issues with backup PSTs, Outlook data files, Michael? Michael, that's one of the most common types of files that we back up. So Outlook is nearly always, Outlook and QuickBooks are 2 of the most common file formats that we're backing up, so no problems there. Unlimited versioning, coming back to the slide deck. This is a really important feature and a real standout feature for SOS when you compare it to the crowd of other vendors. We keep every version of every file. So if a file changes every single day, after a year we'll have 365 versions. And we don't charge you for that. SOS bears the cost of storing all of that completely for free. So we have some customers who have 5 years of version histories in our cloud. And coupling that with the recovery engine, you can see in the graphic above, that's when it gets really powerful, because if you've got every version of every file, when you roll back to a certain point in time, you can get every file and the version it was at that time. So it really gives you a cloud-based time machine for your computing environment. And then lastly, unlimited archiving, which is a little bit complicated. And I'll draw a contrast with Carbonite and Mozy. If you are backing up with Carbonite and Mozy and you delete a file off your PC, they will then delete that file out of the cloud. And they do that because they say that it's no longer a backup. If you've removed it from your PC, you obviously don't want it backed up. So they delete it from the cloud. The problem with that is that we've found the vast majority of single file recoveries on our network are because of accidental deletion or loss of data. So customers losing files or accidentally deleting files. The last thing they would want us to do is to actually delete those files from our cloud. So we archive it for you forever. So what that means is that our system can be sold as a full archiving solution, which is very important for, particularly in the business environment, for law firms, financial services firms, for any business that is regulated by the HIPAA regulations. You can sell our backup stack as an archiving solution that can be used to archive data for 5, 7 years or whatever is required. And again, that's built in and for free. So let's turn from any other questions on technology? Oh, we've got one. Peter asks, do you backup Exchange and SQL? Yeah, Peter, we do work with Exchange and SQL. We generally work with the native Exchange and backup SQL agents and then back up their output. We've also got a managed server backup solution where it's called our Blue Sky CES, or Complex Environment Support Program, where as an IT company, you're probably supporting a certain number of servers. You can actually have us manage the backup of those servers. So we'll remote in, set it up, monitor it, provide you with reports, and actually completely own the backup and recovery management of that box for you. And that's at a cost of only $25 a month. And most of our partners look at that as the no-brainer because they can't support a server for $25 a month at all. They then on-sell the service to their customers at a very significant markup. So if you're interested in that, that's our Blue Sky CES service. Another question here from Deb. How does unlimited versioning and archiving affect account size limits? Deb, they don't. You've got an account and you put files in that account, and we don't charge you for the archiving or for the versioning. SOS bears that cost on the back end. Okay, so we've seen that slide before. So why partner with SOS? 5 key reasons: technology, delivery and support, high margin revenue, brand building, and customer retention. On the technology side, we really do lead the pack when it comes to technology, both under our own brand and under your brand. Certainly, there are other companies who do focus on providing online backup platforms. They're pretty weak on technology, and we stand alone as a technology leader under our own brand, let alone in the partner channel, because usually companies who are focused on the channel are a couple of years behind people who are just focusing on the direct market. We lead both in terms of technology capabilities. Delivery and support, we're going to talk a lot about the support you get as an SOS partner, but 11 data centers around the world. Actually, this slide's out of date. You get a dedicated account manager who works with you, dedicated sales associate who provides you with sales support, dedicated partner delivery consultant who works with you to build a business plan around this product, rebrand your software for you, get your website set up, get you integrated with your billing systems or our billing systems, and get you launched. High margin recurring revenue. Some of our partners are making as much as 60 or 70% gross margin on products sold. And we'll see some ROI models in a couple of slides' time. And then brand building and increased customer retention. One of the leading reasons people come to us is because they've got an existing customer base and they either want to extract more revenue per customer out of that base or help retain customers. And online backup's an extremely sticky product. Once a customer has their backup data with you in the cloud, they're very unlikely to migrate away from you because it's what we call moving costs are very high in this industry, just because there's so much hassle involved in moving backup vendors once you've selected one. Okay, another question. Michael asks, can you back up and restore a workstation like WinHome Server does? I'm not familiar with the way WinHome Server works, Michael, so if you give me more detail, I might be able to answer that question. Okay, so we've talked about some of these elements, but I just want to touch on them a little more. This is the 360-degree partner solution. And these are all the elements of what you get when you become an SOS partner. So obviously you get access to our 11 data centers around the world, get access to all of our product and software fully white labeled and reskinned, rebranded to your business, get access to our billing solutions, whether that's using our e-commerce gateways or integrating with our APIs and using your own existing solutions. Remember, you always own the customer, so we work with you and you work with your customer. Our marketing resources and our entire partner resource center, which I'll show you in a minute. Ongoing sales support, which is completely unique in the industry. Our sales reps will work with you on sales calls, so they'll actually show up to a conference call with you as your backup expert. They won't disclose that they're from SOS, and they'll help you close your customers, and we're the only people in the industry who do that. Dedicated training programs. We have training that goes on every day, live classroom-style trainings that you can access over the internet. There's also training resources, all available through the Partner Resource Center, so there's on-demand resources as well as live training sessions that you can attend, and then technical support. We've got 24/7 technical support for our partners, phone-based, and then we've also got 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, live chat-based technical support as well, and then of course we've got 24/7 ticket-based technical support. All right, I just want to take a moment and just today focus on the marketing support that we provide to partners, because a lot of people who partner with us are very competent technically and might run a small IT business but are concerned about how they would market and position and sell a new product like SOS to their customers. So I'm here on the SOS website and I'm flipping across to SOS for resellers, and I'm just going to click here on Partner Resource Center, which I'd encourage you to spend some time in after today's webinar. And the Partner Resource Center is a portal that we put together that is filled with resources for partners to succeed commercially with online backup. So there are email marketing templates that you can use. There's an ebook on pricing guidelines, so how to price online backup for different market segments. Sales presentation templates, so various proposal templates that you can use to help sell your customers. A DR plan, so this is a 30-page ITIL compatible disaster recovery plan that you could actually sell to your customers as part of your services. And we've had partners sell that for as much as several $1,000s, and all they've really done is filled in a process document that we've created for our partners. There's an online backup sales guide, which is a 12-step analysis of everything you need to do to be successful from lead generation through to close winning an sales opportunity, through to supporting that opportunity during its life cycle and then upselling it. White paper on tape versus online backup, technical training, support documentation. A really diverse mix of resources is available there in the Partner Resource Center. And you can get access to some of the Partner Resource Center even if you're not yet a partner. Call in, talk to one of our partner specialists and ask to get access to the PRC, and they'll be able to arrange that for you. And I think that's a great way to get a sense of the sort of support that you can get from SOS as a partner. Another question we get a lot of is, what markets are we seeing success in, partners having success in for online backup? So on this slide, in terms of vertical market segments where we're seeing partners really succeeding, medical and healthcare is a big one right now, as well as financial services. The HIPAA regulations, which impact the whole healthcare industry, pretty much mandate that any company subject to HIPAA regulation needs to use technology like online backup to protect its data. Similarly, the Sarbanes-Oxley regulations effectively mandate the use of online backup in the fin services sector too. They don't, of course, stipulate online backup, but they stipulate certain rules about off-site protection and encryption of data, which means nearly the only cost-effective way of doing it is through using online backup. Other strong markets are the legal market, and then government and education have always been very strong markets for online backup products. And then the other way we look at it is how this technology gets sold. So how do you position it when you sell it on into the market? Obviously it gets sold as a general disaster recovery and archiving solution, but then also some more point uses. It gets sold as a laptop fleet protection, a solution for laptop fleets. So in enterprise, laptops are one of the black holes of data protection. There's been no technology that's really handled laptop fleet backup well. So you've got Fortune 500 companies with thousands of laptops that aren't being backed up. IBM's CTO actually last year made a comment at a conference saying that fewer than 10% of IBM's laptops were being backed up, which I thought was quite illuminating. Branch office backup protection as well is another area which we see this technology being sold into. Core server backup, email servers, app servers, database servers, that's a pretty obvious way to sell this product, and that's bread and butter. And then recently we've seen the product being sold more and more as a remote data or mobile data access solution, which really ties into that access platform of the SOS product strategy. And I want to flip through to this slide because we often have discussions with partners around what sort of revenue potential is possible and what sort of margin is possible. And this is an example of a medium-sized IT business who has a handful of large clients and then a mix of small home office clients and some medium-sized businesses. Their approach was to create online backup bundles. So they came up with a $500 a month package, a $750 a month package, and then a $100, $200, and $300 a month package. And they sold those as just flat fee packages to their customers pretty successfully. Then on the back end from us, they would purchase gigabytes, but they wouldn't sell it. They wouldn't sell it on a per gigabyte basis to their customers. Just sell it as full business data protection, which I think is a very clever way to market online backup, because getting into a discussion about the cost per gigabyte is difficult with customers who don't really understand what a gigabyte is in many cases. So, in fact, one of the things you'll see in our pricing guidelines and our training materials is that we strongly recommend that you just position this as a total data protection service with your customers. So you just back up their entire business. And then behind the scenes, you'll calculate how many gigabytes you actually need to provision for that customer and then deploy that. And that's a very profitable way of selling online backup. In this case, this partner has purchased $12,000 roughly worth of backup from us and has on-sold that at a pretty ridiculous markup, $70,000 worth of revenue. So that's a gross margin of 82% in this particular case. Now, obviously, this is an example of great success, and I'm not suggesting that everybody would be able to hit these numbers, but they're great numbers to aspire to. And the process of building this model is very important at the stage you're in when you're evaluating getting into the online backup market. So one of the things we did is we built a process here at SOS, which gets called by various names, but we build an ROI for you. So we build a return on investment spreadsheet for you. If you call in and speak to one of our partner specialists and ask to have an ROI model built, they'll ask you a few questions based on leading indicators that we've found can indicate success about your business and your product and your customer mix, and try and work up a few different scenarios for you so that you can get a sense of the sorts of revenue you're looking at, cash flow and profitability against your investment in this type of technology. So that's what this line down here at the bottom of the slide is talking about. Number one takeaway from this webinar is get an ROI model done by an SOS partner specialist. Here are some more examples of white label product. This is an example of our vulnerability scanner, and you can find this on our website. The vulnerability scanner is a small tool we provide to partners, which you can see out here. It is branded for SOS, and in the partner, in the background, it's rebranded for one of our partners. What the scanner does is quickly analyze the PC it's running on and come back with a report on how much data it found in these different categories: documents, images, music, video. So it's a fantastic marketing tool. If you can get all of your customers to run this branded tool of yours, then that really helps you scope the opportunity that you've got with all of your customers to back up all of that data. Tremendous tool that I really recommend you get from our partner specialists for you. I think we've talked about most of these things, but just again, talking about the depth of support. When you become an SOS partner, there are no fewer than 4 people assigned to you. So there's your sales associate who works with you both to become a partner of ours and then works with you to sell to your customers. Your partner delivery consultant who gets you into the market and supports your technology needs. Your dedicated account manager who owns the overall relationship between your business and SOS Online Backup, and then your support consultant who works for you and works on your cases. And that kind of depth of support, I don't think exists anywhere else in the industry. And so that brings us to the close of our presentation and takes us onto the Q&A section. Why SOS? Well, our technology, our price point, our delivery and support, and at the end of the day, it's about dollars and cents. This enables you to rapidly get into a business which produces very high margin recurring revenue for you, selling to the customers you've already got today. So please, two things. Firstly, the Kindle promotions. If to go into the draw for the Kindle, call into the to the call center, and the number is 877-896-3611. I'll also give you the direct dial because I don't think that line works from Canada. So the direct dial is +1 310 878 26. Those numbers again, 877-896-3611 is the toll-free, and the direct dial is +1 310 878 2626. And just tell the partner, especially you speak to, that you're on the phone. I beg your pardon, that you were on the webinar this morning, and that you want to enter the Kindle draw, and the Kindle promotion code. They'll ask you for the promotion code. It's KDX8961. KDX8961. And now let's move into Q&A, which is usually my favorite part of the presentation. We've got a couple of questions on the line here, but we've got lots of participants, so I'd really encourage everybody to ask a question. Mike, here's my question to you. What's stopping you from getting in the online backup business? So if you would at least answer me that question, I'd be thrilled. And that hopefully will trigger some conversation. Kenneth asks, is this presentation being recorded and available for viewing later? Kenneth, it is. You'll get an email with a link to the video, and also on our website, on the reseller tab, you'll be able to find our webinars archive. It'll also be posted on our webinars archive within a few days. Mike asks, what's the most popular price plan for consumers? What's the ARPU that you see selling direct? Mike, it's really all across the board. We see a lot because we work with so many different partners, and there's a lot of different ways of selling it. We've got an ASP with our customers which is north of $100. So it can be a very rich market, but it depends how it's being sold, whether it's being bundled with something else, whether or not it's being sold as a discrete standalone product, if it's being sold, say, into a particular usage scenario, so being really pushed as a photo backup solution versus just being pushed as a generic backup solution. So the average customer value is really all over the board. Ryan's asking, what are the initial costs of getting started and selling? Ryan, we've got lots of different partner packages. Oh, I'll take that back. We've got 3 or 4 different main partnership offerings. The easiest one to get started is $250 a month, and that gets you up and running, gets you your own private cloud, fully rebranded software, access to the Partner Resource Center, everything I said today, everything I talked about today. And then it goes up from there. The bigger your partnership with SOS, the cheaper you get the cloud space from us on a buy rate basis. So the bigger your commitment is, then the lower your per unit cost is, which is pretty standard. Peter asks, is there a reseller sign-up fee monthly or annually? Peter, we don't look at it like that. There's a subscription fee where you pay for the services you buy from SOS Online Backup. Steve asks, what's the typical time it takes to do the first backup of a PC, a server? So Steve, it's a difficult question to answer because it totally depends on the amount of data you're backing up. There are 3 factors that determines the time. First is the amount of data. The second is the size of the uplink connection that you're using. And when I say uplink, I'm being careful about that. It's not the size of your connection. Many broadband connections are asymmetric in nature. So, for example, with DSL, it's very common to have 7 or 8 megs down, but only have 512 kilobits up. So you've really got to look at that upload speed on your broadband connection. And then the third variable is the content type. Certain types of data are far more compressible than others. So database and files and Office documents will often compress to 1/10 of their original size. Movies and video won't compress at all. So amount of data, type of connection, and type of content are your key variables. Usually the first backup will take a couple of days. So in a business environment, you'll often kick it off on a Friday and hopefully it's finished by the Monday. For a home user, it'll often run just overnight on the first backup. Subsequent backups usually run in a minute or two, because with subsequent backups, so day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on, it's only transferring the binary differences. So it's not just new files. Obviously, it will back up just new files. But even within the file that's already backed up, if they change, it doesn't back up the whole file. It just extracts a package from that file of just the binary difference and only backs up that tiny binary package that's actually changed. I hope that answers the question, Steve. Dennis asks, already supplying online backup using Rackspace's Jungle Disk white label product. Okay, Dennis. Not sure what the question is there. Glenn asks, do you have billing system or can we link to our custom billing software? Glenn, you can do either or. So there are 3 billing solutions. One where we just invoice you monthly and you bill your customers however you like. Another where we can actually collect payments from your customers and remit to you. Or the third, which I think you would go for, is use our billing API and just integrate our backends. So you'd keep using your billing software and hook into our backend. V asks, do I have to call the 877 number for the Kindle? Or is this automatic? You do, RV. You've got to call in and register to be in the Kindle draw. Martin asks, I have no customers on backup at this time, and the price point with no customers makes it hard to incur a cost. Can we do it on a percentage basis instead of the $250? Makes sense. Martin, we don't do any offers like that you're talking about. There's a lot of costs involved for us to get you fully branded and set up. So we've tried to make the monthly fee as low and painless as possible. We actually have a lot of people who come in and actually just pay us, will just buy $10,000 worth of product from us up front, for example. So it might be the sort of thing where you need to drive some interest among your potential customers, and then as you gather some speed with them, then look at launching online backup to them. Ryan says, who is my rep? Ryan, if you've already been speaking to a rep, then that person's your rep. If you don't know who your rep is, there's a good chance you haven't got one assigned. And if you just call in, they'll be able to sort that out. So if you just call in the 877 number, they'll sort that out for you. Deb asked, is there a contractual time commitment to the plans? Deb, all of our contracts are a year long, so there's a minimum of a year, yes. Martin asks, can you cap the amount of data that is sent during the initial backup, as many customers have a data cap monthly? Not automatically, Martin. I mean, the reason I hesitated is you could set the backup up like that. So you could just set it up so that originally you back up the 25 gigs of most important data and then incrementally add to the backup set. So you could achieve that same result, but there isn't a feature within the software that would let you just do that. Lynn says, if the backup should fail or if the backup hasn't taken place for X amount of time, will the user be notified? Lynn, yes, there's email reports that go to the customer if there's any issues. Tom says, can you change the backup scenario so that some files are backed up in their entirety, for example, application data? So Tom, you can switch off the binary differencing engine entirely, and then all files would be backed up in their entirety. And if what you're saying is on one PC you want binary delta compression enabled for some files and disabled for others, you could achieve that result. You just use 2 accounts. So in one account you disable binary differencing and use it to select the data you want to do full backups on daily, and in the other account you leave binary differencing on and select the data that you want to back up that way. Hope that makes sense. And Dennis asks, what kind of reporting is sent to the reseller daily about backup status? Dennis, reports are on demand, so it's not sent to you daily, but you can log in and access the data in real time. Martin asks, how long do the backup files stay in the cloud once the user deletes the file on their computer? Forever, Martin. We don't, I mean, that's the whole point of our archiving system. We don't delete the files just because the files are deleted from their computer. We think that's extremely bad product design. Yeah, you need to explicitly remove the data from our cloud for us to remove it. So once the file's deleted off the customer's PC, it then becomes archived on our system, but they can be deleted by the customer at any time. Lynn says, I'm assuming there is a client that sits on each machine. If this is the case, is there a quick way to deploy the client to each machine? Yes and yes, Lynn. So we can provide you with an MSI that you can push out using our Active Directory group policy or any other central deployment technology that you're using. And yeah, there is a client that sits on every machine. And that's the last of our questions so far. Okay. Well, I'm happy to answer any more questions if there are some on the line, and if not, we're a little bit over time, so we can move to wrap up. Again, recommend calling in to register for the Kindle giveaway. When you call in, while you're there, I think get an ROI model done. It takes 10 minutes, and that'll give you a very good sense of what sort of revenue you could drive in this business. And I think it's probably one of the most powerful tools you can leverage to assess the business opportunity you've got. We've got some other questions coming in now. Tom, is there a limit to the number of accounts you can have? No, Tom, there is not. Lynn asks, must we go through a reseller to sign up for the service? Lynn, I'm confused. Are you looking to use this for yourself, or are you looking to become a reseller? Both. Well, if you're looking to use it for yourself, then you could always get it off our website. But our main focus is working with partners. So if you're looking to become a reseller, then call one of our partner specialists, and they can help you get set up. Hope that makes sense. Tom asks, how many gigabytes with the $250 a month package? Tom, they change it all the time. We've got some specials running right now, and I don't actually know off the top of my head. I believe it's 300 gigabytes at the moment. But that's actually one of the good reasons to stay in touch with a partner specialist is they can keep you updated on the various special offers we're doing on a monthly basis. Tony asks, does the $250 cover the space in the cloud? Absolutely, Tony. That covers everything: software, infrastructure, the rebranding, the training, access to the marketing materials, access to the sales resources. So that whole dedicated team of 4 I was talking about, that even applies on the $250 a month package. So it really is a fantastic amount of service that you get at that level. And we have larger packages. I mean, our bread and butter is a $7,500 package, which most of our partners go for, and you get a lot more bang for your buck, so to speak, at that point. But yeah, I mean, it takes all sorts. Okay, we don't have any other questions at the moment. So I want to thank everybody for their time. It's been a good, lively interaction. I'm always interested to see how much interaction we can have through these forums.